How's the thing I asked you about going? I don't know. How is it going? Well, hey guys, my name is Fudce. Welcome back to another episode of World End Economica. And meet the President of the Moon. Me regarding the Research Institute? When he asked us in return, Gazanica looked around and lowered his voice. Yes, you see, we received confidential information from unofficial sources on Earth. It seems to be bigger than I thought, so this has piqued my curiosity. I looked at Marco, shrugged slightly. Looked into it via an analyst for a healthcare-related company. He said it was a regular government research establishment on the lunar surface. Gives official approval to use data on the commercials and claim things like if you use this on the lunar surface, you use 5 times more weight, or this low momentum machine will be given proven reinforced movement on low gravity environment. That kind of corruption is definitely something that exists, but it doesn't give you the impression that it would become anything bigger. Huh? Do you think it's something? No, alright. I see. If that's all it is to it, then it's fine. He got blunt, but he was still president after all. There are things he could talk about, and there are things he couldn't. So you consult with advisory committees about this? The president had groups of experts who advised him on every important field. As for me, I'd become a permanent member of the advisory committee on economic matters. This will be an important position in a dignified historical country on Earth. But here on the lunar surface, where both literal and development distance from the Earth kept us out of international politics, it wasn't really a big deal. For the rest of the world, the lunar surface wasn't so much a nation as a giant casino pretending to be a country. Moreover, its president was akin to an ornamental manager chosen by a group of big companies to act as a tenant to a casino. In the first place, most MPs were elites who were partnered with big companies and been entrusted with keeping their respective companies' profits secure. That doesn't sound corrupt at all, does it? If you had a business on the lunar surface, this was considered a central part of education, like going back to grad school on your employer's dime. A spirited person like Gazanica managed to become president was an even bigger miracle than himself would have you believe. I haven't, because aside from you two, I don't know who has connections with whom. If we needed to investigate more in depth, we could put a little more effort into it. I don't understand Gazanica's indecision. Gazanica looked at me, and then he said the following. No, let's try to wait until we get more information. Till then, please leave the matter alone. I mean, I'm fine with that, but... Also, how's the funding going? That was one of the questions that was hard to ask inside the church. The growth rate for this period is 17. Includes both donations and investments. That's rather moderate. Is there any way to increase that? If the real estate speculation has calmed down these last few months, it should jump up soon. I'd like to proceed with a large-scale land exploration, but it's too late. On the lunar surface, where the land is limited and the influx of immigrants was ceaseless, real estate showed increases in value even more tremendous than stocks. As such, housing aids were much more effective as the scale got bigger. However, funding necessary is considerable. When funds not this big, the slightest variation of the market price created a huge change in their amount. Since the real estate market price on the lunar surface was skyrocketing, you didn't think twice about buying stocks quickly if you could. You could take lots of risks, but will that suit our purpose? If I suffered losses during this method, I would have no excuses. I see. This is a difficult situation. However, I heard about some unique bonds a few days ago. This big-name institution investor on Earth has entered the market. He was undoubtedly talking about ABS. Maybe the bonds that are rated as high as governmental bonds? Those are ones. However, just buying some automatically yields a profit. I even heard the risk of bankruptcy is lower than that of government bonds. If that's the case, I would say there's no reason not to buy some. But what do you think? As I was told this, I saw that I wouldn't be able to avoid a topic on my risk and return strategy from years ago. There's definitely a part of me who wanted to say that ABS was the exception. Those parts would not set a questionable finance rules. I'm personally not well versed in structured bonds. This is indeed, as you said, a structure which the more you invest, more profits you lead. However, I see. Well, I'll bear your caution out of your mind. Gazanica replied, agreeing with surprisingly quickly. It might be because he was aware he himself didn't know much about it. I'm honored that you hold me in such high esteem, but you seem to be quite knowledgeable yourself. I guess. It's because the Parliament is all about making money. Stories about your methods are going around a lot. But for me, it's because you brought down Avalon. That's the reason why I trust you. He slapped my shoulder with a huge hand and walked away. And counting on you to play a role here over the lunar surface. He was greeted with a security team that had come to pick him up. He waved at me enthusiastically before getting in the car. Honestly, he behaves like such a little boy. I couldn't bring myself to hate him. ABS sure is popular, isn't it? He said this as he watched the car and it went out of sight. I should play my role, huh? Later, I've just been watching over the cattle. Me again saying stuff like that. Raised my hand as Marco glared at me. Got it, got it. After that, there were also phone commentaries and piles of research reports that need to be checked out. We have to find sources of money amongst these. What's this all about, right? That's exactly what this is all about. Felt like kind of sad for needing encouragement from someone young like Marco. But just knowing someone was on my side was a big help. I got in touch with Risa and returned directly to Schrödinger Street with Marco. In the end, during the whole week after what happened at Club 25, I spent days immersed in the stock market as usual. Which is why, even though the topic had come out during my conversation with Xonica, ABS hadn't even crossed my mind until a sealed envelope with a logo of E.J. Rockberg came to me. During my week, I'd sifted through the financial statements of around 500 companies, going to phone conferences with more than 50 companies considering the details around 10 of them. And I'm not even investing in one of them. I see the envelope just as heavy as sigh as his wasted efforts, so I could say it was a pretty bad mood. After all, this envelope came to me, I was itching to calculate exactly how much Chris and the team had earned. These securities are sold quite well, which meant there had to be investors counting the same amount of profits in their books using alchemy. Everyone was basking in happiness. The only exception of those with the excessive king of pessimism, investors obstinately following the old unwritten rules of investment. It wasn't addressed as rights of investment, but to me personally. It was a matter of pride in a way. Because this project, ABS, the Holy Grail, did not fit with our investment fund's intentions. Many investment funds usually limited themselves to only one specialist field of investment when doing business, explaining with customers who provide their funds. Of course, it's quite common to be flexible to some extent. We had some people who didn't explain their investment methods at all, and those who limited themselves to people who wouldn't complain no matter what happened to their gathering funds. The only ones who could pull this off were a rare few overlords who achieved such high success that no one could criticise them, and who aimed to gather their funds by donning mysterious air. Not only did you not know what's going to happen in this field of future, there's no such thing as assets or products as a factory had seen in the manufacturing industry. All that existed were names and trust, which meant whether or not you could convince someone to provide you funds all depended on whether or not they trusted you. What this all boiled down to was if you just grabbed onto something because it might make you a quick buck, and you ended up turning a loss, you'd lose invaluable trust in addition to money. There's more than 1.5 gigabytes of text data in the ABS specifications document we bought. This one has a lot more animated images, doesn't it? As our car drove along, Marco was still tinkering with his tablet in one hand. He spoke these words. Are you really going to read everything? I come out about 10,000 pages printed out. I don't need to read everything, I just need to grasp the essentials. Are we even going to be able to pick out the essentials are? I had a guess as to why Marco was muttering. This kind of financial product was, for the most part, buried in needlessly complicated legalese. It wasn't because it was necessary so much as a buyer turned up lost in such a pattern. We wouldn't want to bother going the legal route. Signing such a contract was the same as agreeing to a specification document over 10,000 pages long. However, it was doubtful that even one person every 10,000 read the whole thing. Even then, probably fewer than 100,000 could understand it. You can't have to wonder if the people who wrote it even understood it. In this world of complex structured bonds and products called derivatives, the investor was just cast into a jungle of legalese, and math was prey for commercial investment banks. Even a seasoned investor could get severely hurt. This was a food chain, continuing all the way from Earth. Looking at the view from outside, I let out a small yawn. Please send the specifications to Miss Satya. She handles all our legal matters. Seriously? If we ask her, she's going to charge us a lot. That's precisely her expertise, right? It's best to ask a pro. That's kind of true. Never seen anyone even frame that kind of thing as decoration in her office, you know. I chuckled. She was a financial law specialist, leading a group of composed of a dozen lawyers, and fought in court cases where hundreds of millions of billions, even more, at stake. Very capable attorney, Miss Satya. And in a very neat office, for every lawsuit she won, she framed a written statement from a judge of decoration. According to her, it was the ultimate achievement of humanity in law and concentrating so much pedantic legalese, It would numb your brain. To know the law of a jungle, one must seek out guidance from a rule of a jungle. So I was a bit lacking in my understanding of structured bonds and derivatives, but just by looking up a bit, you find tons of information. Interest rate swaps, floaters, currency notes, credit derivatives. As a motorist, Marco was tapping on his tablet screen with all 5 fingers, so he was trying to cast some spell, suddenly stopped. You looked those up. It's one of the few things I learned. Don't touch what you don't know. Make sure to know what you can know as well as possible. But again, I just looked into it and to see other night sales, promotion, dinner party. There was a lot of talk about black swans. A succession of total surprises. It makes stock investment look positively primeval. Also, can't help but wonder if this is really actual serious business. If we're taking bets about the interest rates, you'll have plain swaps, vanilla swaps, and even exotic swaps. Do you think you'll have chocolate swaps and rainbow spray topping swaps? As long as there's a chance of investment, people are willing to take a risk. Anything goes. Besides, it seems like this product will take advantage of people's vanity. Vanity? Our company makes use of reversal dual currency notes to ensure hedging of a long-term currency risk. Doesn't it feel intimidating yet secure if you can't quite explain why? My words, Marco bit his lip and lowered his head. Roosevelt at Club 25. One to not touch something they don't know. But what if times fundamentally changed? What if I am not trying new stuff, not because I'm careful, but because I'm getting old? But isn't the opposite of what causes cattle run rampant? This is a new era, a new way of investing. The old rules have perished, that sort of thing. Even though he did criticise me for not investing in ABS, I'm reassured to see that Marco is indeed on our side. That's what I think too. No, rather, it's what I want to believe. When people hear about someone who's onto something big, they lose their minds. After all, they say everyone will stop in their tracks, even if just to look at a bunch of people staring at an empty space. As the car stopped in a corner in Newton City, I uttered these words to Marco. Even if there's nothing more, someone might happen to find something. May what they find be hope. Marco said this as he was praying to God. I gazed at him in disbelief before leaving the car. I accompanied Marco to a software company that had passed the investment section, or at least the document screening for its first time for a while since that had happened. The company was still experienced, but its sales were continually doubling. It was growing steadily in scale. However, the company had not gone public in the stock market yet. It was not overall well known. I came to know the company because one of our investors was intimate with its executive officers. He introduced us because, like most companies, they lack cash. It's an honour to meet you. A young man with strangely beautiful eyes shook my hand firmly. His jeans and shirt looked like they were barely containing his tall, slightly overweight body. I am a CEO, Rich Tears. Been watching Avalon's defeat since before I came to Lunar's surface. I was really impressed by your attitude, the way you followed your instincts and how you would go with evidence. Even though you knew it was reckless, just like my attitude towards programming. Well, he seems like a really, really nice chap. I don't have a lot of support, but watching you did really encourage me. Thank you, thank you. Guys like him, tall, bulky, full of motivation to succeed as an entrepreneur, but overbearing as a rule. I was overwhelmed as he was still holding my hand and shaking it around as if he was pleased. Someone broke into a conversation from the side. I am Jim Black, the CFO. And I have a pair of testicles in my chin. In contrast to Rich, he was smartly dressed in a well-fitted suit. Rich was still trying to say something, but I still managed to free my hand to shake Jim's. My name is Kawaru Yoshiharu from Schweitz Investment. It's an honour to meet you. Huh? As I muttered this inadvertently to Jim questioned me in return. What is it? Oh, nothing, sorry. Your hand just seems rather cold after Rich's. Ah, I'm always telling you he needs to eat more. Jim Riley smiled as Rich slapped him firmly on the back. Mark exchanged greetings with the two of them. They were shown into the company. We currently have 45 employees. Our main source of income comes from simulation programs for precision equipment using the low gravity conditions of a lunar surface. We're using designs for factories, for example. The fact is, you can't simply divide a gravity by 6 and be done with it. Which is just a large single-floor office, but just like the rundown building I ran my fund from, this office was located in a building full of second and third-rate companies. Since one of the underground floors, the sunlight exposure with ventilation was horrendous. They were using blinds not to keep out the sunlight, but rather they didn't want to keep guys in the building overlooking them. Even so, a rental fee for such a large room, especially with no partitions, must be quite high. The desks too were arranged casually, with sofas also scattered here and there, likely to serve as resting spots. And those don't really look like beanbags, but more like jelly bags. Marco too was looking around with curious eyes, probably judging the place according to his own standards. However, this place has a very free atmosphere. When I've never been into college, I get the feeling it must be the same sort of atmosphere. We're trying not to put partitions between desks or to reduce them as much as possible. That's why you can see everything, from the entrance to the back, you see. Rich explained this, looking quite happily as he did so. And we put coffee makers on the sofas and the flows of people cross. We're a knowledge-intensive industry, so you know. Sometimes we get great breakthroughs are born from casual chats between people. Rent of this floor is higher than market prices, but I think what we get for return is more than covers it. He's already aware of what we were looking at. Unless you're really a startup, in order to become large enough to hire 45 employees, you need to constantly fight with banks and investors. Which may have well been a hopeless programmer nerd at first, but this had improved slowly, one step at a time. Can you back that up with actual figures? He asked what I knew to be a slightly mean question. Jim, the one with a slender face, looked at me warily, but Rich answered. Ha ha, I'm a programmer from a bones, that's what I like. What do you mean? According to studies on human behaviour, when a floor is divided by 2, the frequency of interactions between employees on both sides becomes the same as if they were in buildings separated by 16 kilometres. Using intercompany SNS is also useless. The brain creates categories by itself, and people put more valuable what they can actually see. A visible sense of unity. Ha! See? You already know the answer. Just expected as much from a man over through Avalon. Rich, still laughing out loud, grabbed a snack from one of the resting areas as he walked towards a space of far into the room. That's why my office has glass walls. Already hate the bureaucratic vertical divisions of large companies, you know. His office really did have glass walls everywhere. He opened the door to one of them. He invited us in. Inside was a whiteboard, full of calculations and PC parts with innumerable cables and attached to them. Worn-out books stored by handling were also piled up. Probably getting emotional, seeing how much it reminded me of Eleanor's room. I caught a slight squirrel in a cage near the window. That's John. He's my superior, he said, laughing heartily. So your visit today is about the investment, right? He seemed uncomfortable saying this, but you must have might guess from his appearance. Even though he was just interested in such things as human behaviour programming efficiency, he might not have been such keen to discuss such worldly matters. I should warn you up front, I'm extremely refined. Ha, it's alright, Kerry. One who introduced us already brought that to my attention. Jim came in last, pulling up a glass handle of the door to close it. The place suddenly became quite quiet. It seemed the walls were remarkably soundproof. This must be a perfect environment to concentrate on your work. I don't really care, but Jim insisted. Because the way you program is more like sorcery. Marco burst into laughter. I can imagine Rich beating his keyboard, crying out in tongues. You're mean. Anyway, do you want to explain the details to you in place of his CEO? Jim ignored Rich and spoke up, probably thinking if we'd just end up getting off track if he was allowed to handle it. Rich too seemingly trusted him, kept his mouth shut, smiling wryly. We're a good team, I thought. They complemented each other nicely. Not at all. I made a sign to Marco my eyes before I said that, then opened up a few documents. Statement of products, profits and business plans made in advance. In the end, these were 3 essential things in any company. If you examine the hundreds or even thousands of records a company had, you end up losing track of what you're looking at. I used to think it was because of my lack of ability, but lately I've been thinking it might not be the case. All in all, it was the same for everyone. Basically, there was no way to know what would happen in the future. Which is why, since the bank has already come to me with this rather difficult question, I'm already aware this is an issue we have to overcome. Was Jim's reply to Marco's question. The fluidity of currency that constitutes a company's blood, the development of products, and the sales of a time gap between the outstanding sales and accounts to its collection. The company also had a very considerate welfare program for its employees, as with many growing companies. Since his company helped employees in the market for a house or a home for loan, the amount of money available to them had dropped dangerously low several times. There were companies that went bankrupt because they exhausted the money they had on hand, even if they turned amazing profits. This happened especially to small companies. And his company also went bankrupt because basically it was stuck at this vulnerable point. Even a gigantic Avalon, when its lies were exposed, could no longer borrow money from anyone, and Strangled became unable to manage its web full of lies. Whilst listening to Marco and Jim arguing back and forth, I happened to exchange glances with a bored-looking Rich who gave me an embarrassing smile in reply. As for the usefulness of a product, every analyst that I paid every month do some research on them beforehand. I'd also ask the Rose to sniff out any rumours about a product by his own channels. It seems a project very useful and overall great, but they face brutal competition from other companies. I see, I thought to myself. The most pressing issue is something awfully obvious. How to quickly turn new products created by one's research into finished products ready to be sold. Because regardless of what kind of product you sell, similar versions of it will soon come out. The discussion between Jim and Marco had apparently reached its conclusion. But at that moment, Rich was looking somewhere far away, muttering something. His fingers moved on his lap as he was using a keyboard. Probably so bored of discussion he started developing a program in his head. That's typical of geniuses. When he noticed that Jim and Marco had started putting away their documents, a childish sparkle appeared in his eyes. Well then, we'll have a look over his documents. Thank you for coming despite your busy schedule. We'll be awaiting your decision. I shook hands with Jim after Marco and lastly shook hands with Rich. Did you think of a good program? Asked him, Rich smiled complacently. It seems like a good company. He said this as en route to a business district of Newton City after leaving the office. The main issue was liquidity. The business itself seemed solid. It seems so. I gave a quick reply as I neared this intersection. Traffic lights used to be few and far between, but since the number of cars had increased, the number of stops had also increased. The fast want to go faster, and the slow have to get slower. That's just like Matthew effect. I think it was a scholar who pointed out that travel speed was tied to power. Are you not interested? I shrugged at Marco's question. Which tier's business card, and only his, we can put in our folder. What do you mean? Well, you see, Jim was probably bored on the moon. Huh? He stared at me dumbfounded before putting his tablet out in a hurry. Yes, I told him they were born on Earth and graduated from the same university. They met by chance on the moon and hit off. However, this is all a lie. Is that why you surprised when we first shook hands? Exactly. I can recognise someone who was born on the moon just by shaking hands with them. You guess the same thing about me when you first met? Yes. But I can sometimes seem creepy. Anyway, the other thing that bothers me is our office. Marco didn't reply, frowning in deep reflection. Since he was intent on surpassing me, his pride probably didn't land to just agree meekly with everything I said. I was thinking about how that was a good thing. The light turned green, and I started crossing the street. I looked over my shoulder, so Marco was still not moving, but then out of sight as I continued to walk. I'd like one raisin, please. As I was buying an ice cream at Store Street, Marco ran up to me. I got my ice cream and started walking as I licked it. So it's the office, right? Huh? The glass-sided one. I offered my ice cream to Marco, but he made a grumpy face and went to buy mint chocolate and vanilla double ice cream before catching up with me. She stopped teasing me like Risa does. Get some candy or chocolate as a reward, right? When she does it, it's scary because it really feels like I've regressed back to being a child. Oh well, I'll just keep that in mind, I said before starting my explanation. When a CFO closes a door, it's definitely becoming something as convenient as a mayor. There wasn't anything suspicious in their numbers. Could be in their business plan or their line of research. I see, but, well, I see why we're blowing up mind topic of the topics. Because whether people would opt to work a business with this kind of floor plan would appreciate people like Jim Black. The business district in Newton City in the early afternoon had a fairly relaxed atmosphere. I found myself once again thinking about how the odd perpetual frantic showroom street seemed in comparison. Is it internal discord? I don't think that's the case. You saw how bored Rich was, didn't you? The employees must have decided to work there because they admire his genius. They probably feel like Jim might be using Rich. I'm sure Jim understands that. That's why there's a door in his glass office. Marco had been stuffing mouth relentlessly with the double ice cream. He gulped down a mouthful before talking. Are you sure you're not just overthinking this? It's quite possible. However, companies are people. In the end, it just boils down to people. I'm not aware of that, but besides not having any liquidity, despite being largely in the black, it's clearly suspicious. Especially if they don't have any old factories or stock over there. Only expenses should be the personnel in the offices, along with the cost of computers. Marco made his pleased face at my comment. He was probably thinking if I'd had precise numbers to use as a basis, I should have told him sooner. They're going to turn those proceeds on the software updates into a net income ahead of schedule. They're probably thinking that since their clients are going to update the software anyway, might as well make a profit by doing this. Software companies usually show their company's financial results in detail. However, they take their future profits in advance in order to increase their current profits. They'll end up being taxed and it eats up liquidity. Because no matter how close to being tax-free it is, it actually isn't. But why? I shrugged as I gave my answer. We embellish the financial statements they obtain away, they're probably getting funds from financial institutions and people specialise in investing in companies that aren't on the stock market. At first I might have pulled apart business rivals and generally used that as propellant to growth of their own company. After all, so they did tell us that this field is highly competitive. If they do that once, that's to be an even bigger scale the next time, and investors expect continued growth from that company. However, what if that gets increasingly difficult to keep up? What happens if they end up incapable of doing more than that? They have as much cash as they can, and run. It could have been from my ice cream, but Marco grimaced as if he had a headache. I'm sure to investigate this thoroughly, just in case. Yes, please do. I applied and continued to eat my ice cream, and Marco let us all sigh. This one was a bust too, huh? It seems so. We've screamed 10,000 companies, and further research into the 10 we retained. This is the only one that made a cut. In the end, it was useless. In any case, this was a fail this time, but I understood what he wanted to say. I looked at the sky surrounded in every corner by skyscrapers, so tall I could seemingly ready to collapse at any moment. Investing stock may have gotten old-fashioned, I guess. Companies that sometimes seem promising end up being completely rotten inside, because their profits were too high, because their money came in too easily, or somewhere I lost their restraint. 4 years ago, Eleanor was lamenting the same thing. She deplored that many borderline fraudulent companies offered their stocks on the market. There was nothing she could do about it. Even if she herself prevented that from launching on the stock market, another investment bank would give them the okay. 4 years had passed since there was no change to that. The lunar surface was spinning so fast it started to go mad. The term lunatic wasn't a figure of speech. Even if you gather funds, you have nowhere to invest them. Any potential candidate looks too scary for anyone to consider investing. After that, it's a rest competition to see who can take the most risks. That's because if you bet on the same thing, the more borrowed money you bet, the more you'll get in return, right? Marco's tone made it sound more like a reproach than an agreement. Objectively, my investments must have looked awfully irritating. And nowhere to invest, I just needed to double my bets and position to quickly making a profit. My nickname of one-legged donkey was never meant to be a compliment. Since letting a capital together to stay idle would be a serious negligence, leveraging just at least 2 or 3 times that amount was just a matter of course. Amongst the cows, I know, the highest leverage ratio was a record-breaking 3,300. If you bet your personal funds with 3,300 return, you could buy 100 more stock for 3 mores. If that stock's value rose to 103, your assets increased likewise. If it rose to 112, your assets would grow even more. On the lunar surface, if you got your hands on vended stocks, you can see their value rise from 100 to 300 or 400 over the course of a month. Because of that, a snot-nosed brat could become a multi-millionaire in no time. However, all it took was that 100 more stock value dropping to 97 by 97 mores, and your plan had failed. Furthermore, while the stock's value could rise sharply, it could drop just as abruptly. Besides, I experienced firsthand the consequences of betting large sums of money on a single stock. In a stock trading contest 8 years ago, I ended up as good as a beach whale. This logic applied not only to stocks, but any kind of transaction required, first and foremost, sellers and buyers. When he wagered as someone money too important, we became unable to react at a moment's notice. If we made the stock's value diminish by selling, we always decided to sell as well, making value drop even more. You became more and more incapable of selling. A gamma trap. Demons were lurking in the marketplace. More stock prices increased. Deep rays sank in the claws of victims' necks. Why don't you consider alternative investments? He said this as if observing my reaction. I got up. To a certain scale, most funds diversify their investments. As long as we're not in a world where exchange exceeded $1 trillion more a day, there weren't many outlets who could absorb large sums of money. Like what? He replied to my mischievous question with his chin lowered. ABS, for instance. Even though Dr. Wallace is keeping an eye on it? Well, I do think it would be pretty thrilling, but probably want to say that it's maybe not that risky. Ultimately, going out way to avoid ABS ended up being an irrational obstinacy. Conviction and obstinacy are two different things. If you were being rational, you could make an informed decision to stay away from it. In that case, should we try asking Miss Satia? Huh? We don't know anything. We don't like Brinden's ass. We can even know go right or left. We need an Amazon to guide us in the jungle. Since the housing project was starting to take shape, we're going to need more and more capital, like Zenica said. The price of real estate was about to skyrocket again, but alone made the project difficult to realise. I wanted this project to succeed, as it would serve as a preparatory step towards my own dream, but if that wasn't the case, since everyone else's dream also depended on this, I couldn't allow myself to become a bottleneck. More than anything, I wanted to find out whether or not the connection between risk and return that had permeated my entire being had really been shattered. Okay, and with that, I'm going to end the episode here. Again, it's been a long one. I would like to do one of these episodes once in a while, especially with something like that, where it's just like one big company. So I'll leave you with jazzy music. Join me next time when I find out about the best districts in Australia Street. Bye bye.